Good evening. It's 7:02. That's the earliest we've ever started. We've been doing this 20 years, I guarantee. Dirk, thanks for showing up only 2 minutes late. So now you know why we're starting almost on time. Yeah, almost on time. Dirk calls me a quitter because I quit after only 30 years. But anyway, we're glad to have him here. On behalf of the Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, we want to welcome you all to our induction program for 2025. And as always, our first order of business this evening, we need to ask you to silence, turn off, disable, or whatever to your cell phones, if you don't mind. All right, well, it's good to see so many of you here tonight. You know, our committee has struggled for years trying to find a date when we could hold this event when we weren't in conflict with some kind of a football game or a volleyball game or some other school activity. And we finally just gave up on that. And we decided that for the foreseeable future, we will do this on the week before the first home football game in odd-numbered years. And the reason we chose that is because, as it is today and for the foreseeable future, the first home football game in an odd-numbered year will be against Nelsonville York. And we always have a good crowd for that game, and we like to recognize our new Hall of Fame inductees in front of that large crowd. So that means that our next ceremony will be in August of 2027. If you want to get your calendars out, go ahead and mark the day, because we need to have a good turnout every time we do this, because we don't have any fundraisers other than this dinner to keep this program going. So, you know, we actually have 2 programs of recognition in this district, and anytime we get a crowd together, we like to take a moment to talk about them. Without a doubt, I think the people who live in this community are its greatest resource, and we always try to develop that resource to the best we can. But unfortunately, our greatest resource is also our leading export. And oftentimes, people have to leave the community in order to fully take advantage of their educational skill level and to make as good a living for themselves as they can. So that's one of the reasons we have these 2 programs of recognition, a Wall of Fame program and our Athletic Hall of Fame program. The Wall of Fame program recognizes people who have been successful in their careers and also as good citizens in their community. And their pictures, along with a description of their achievements, hangs on the main hallway wall of the high school here. And our idea behind that is, since many of these people no longer live in our district, our students don't see those people and pass them on the street every day. But by putting their picture and a list of their accomplishments in the main hallway of the high school, they walk by them each and every day on their way to and from class. And our hope is that they might stop and take a look at a picture or 2 and realize that some of these people have come out of here, and although they might have left the community, they've done very well in their lives. If you haven't seen that Wall of Fame program or demonstration display, I would invite you to do that before you leave this evening. You can go out that door, down the hallway to your right, and all the people who've been recognized in that Wall of Fame program, their information is down there. Also, obviously we have an Athletic Hall of Fame, which is why we're here this evening, and we put these people's pictures along with a brief list of their achievements in the lobby outside of the gymnasium. And the reason for that is not only do we want our students to see that, but also any spectators who come to ball games in the gymnasium have the opportunity to take a look at that Athletic Hall of Fame and to see the achievements of some of our graduates. Both of these programs have the same goals in mind. First of all, we want to celebrate the achievements of our graduates. Secondly, we want to motivate today's young people, today's students, so that they can achieve to the best of their ability, both in academics and also in athletics. One thing that these 2 programs have in common is they require nominations from the community. The nomination forms are available in the high school office. They're available on the school website. As I said, whenever we get a group of people together, we like to mention the programs, and then sometime over the course of the evening, as you're sitting there talking things over, you might come up with an idea of a nomination of an athlete or somebody who's been successful in their business or citizenship, and you might be able to pick up an application and make a nomination. With that having been said, well, I think we would move to the next item on the agenda, which is always dinner. And in order to get there, we'll ask committee member Dirk Walton if he'll come forward to lead us in a word of prayer. And while Dirk's making his way up here, when it comes to dinner, we'd ask that the inductees and their families be allowed to go first, and then people who are part of the program, and then maybe we can start on this end and go with this table, and when they've gone through the line, people at this table right on across the room. I've been assured that we have plenty of food, but for those of you who are sitting over there, why, if we run out of food, well, maybe we'll give you your money back. But I think we'll be all right. We have plenty of food. So, Dirk, if you'd come forward.
Let's bow our head in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this evening that we could gather here and honor the athletes and their achievements. Father, we just are thankful for the parents and the coaches that got them to do that. But Lord, we just pray that what they have learned, they'll share with the younger people around them to be able to build character in them. Lord, we're thankful for this community where athletics has made a big spotlight for us. And Lord, we just pray for the families that are here, and we just pray for safe passage home. But most of all, we pray for the food we're about to eat and for the hands that prepared it. All these things we ask in your name. Amen.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and get started here. In the interest of time, I know there's a lot of people in the room here who are just about my age, and we all know that 9 o'clock's about bedtime. So we want to be cleaned up and out of here in plenty of time to take care of that. There is more food available over on the table. Certainly we have more cupcakes. Remember, in those coolers up there, there's bottles of water, so if you want something to drink, another cupcake, some more noodles, please feel free to go up there and help yourself. As long as we're talking about dinner, we want to thank the people who prepared it, also the people who served it, members of our committee, but also Mary Moore, Heather Offlick, also Barb Fouts. I think Barb and Debbie once again did the noodles, and you can't beat those noodles. That's, if you don't have any other reason to come back in 2 years, come back for the noodles. You know, they're always that good. So let's have a round of applause to recognize the people. Also, I want to thank my wife, Lois. She always prepares our programs and takes care of anything else that has to do with technology, like sending information to the newspaper. You don't have to give her a round of applause or anything, but it's just one of my things I do every year is to thank her for taking care of that stuff, and also Amy Kish for running those programs off. We also like to recognize members of the administration are here. Principal Matt Curtis, and I think the athletic director Jeff Drake may be here, but thanks to them for helping us put things together to take care of this every couple of years. Also, always like to recognize people who are currently members of the Athletic Hall of Fame. We have a lot of you who just simply come back year after year, and we appreciate that because that's how we fund this program. So let me ask you, if you're a member of the Athletic Hall of Fame, if you'd please stand at this time. Come on. Get up, get up, get up. There's a complete list of all Athletic Hall of Fame members in your program here tonight. And we would ask at the conclusion of the program, we'll have the new inductees seated at the table over here. And we would also then like the current members of the Athletic Hall of Fame, if you come up here and gather around behind them, we'll have a nice picture taken then that will hopefully appear again in the Athens Messenger. Also want to recognize members of the Athletic Hall of Fame committee. If those folks would stand, members of the committee, come on guys, get up. We don't want to wait all night. And there's also a list of committee members on the back of tonight's program. We don't have officers in the Athletic Hall of Fame. Debbie Drury kind of keeps us organized and moving, so I guess if we had to have a president, it'd probably be Debbie. She takes care of the keeping the records and getting out the communications, so I guess she'd probably be the secretary too. And she has the checkbook, so that makes her the treasurer. And I guess that's why we don't have officers. We don't need any officers. We have Debbie. So that pretty well covers it. I would ask for a nice round of applause for Debbie because she keeps this program going. And I'd also like to just recognize, we have 5 new members on the Athletic Hall of Fame committee since we had our last program. And I'd like to recognize them because we found the need to bring some younger people on board and to get some fresh blood in there. And we do have 5 people who have volunteered to help us out with our program this year and then also 2 years from now. The new members since our last induction are Tanya Burdett, Phil Campbell, Nathan Dugan, Jim Hobart, and Kelsey Stevens. So thanks to those people for volunteering to become involved with the program. All right. Obviously, we're here this evening to talk about athletics and athletic achievements. And oftentimes when people talk about high school athletics, they talk about the need that these athletes have to prepare to move on to the next level. And you know, oftentimes they're usually talking about the skills that they need to develop in order to move on to the next level of athletic competition, that being the college level. But you know, that's not what I think about. When I think about preparing high school athletes, acquiring the skills to move on to the next level, because face it, only a very small percentage of high school athletes ever go on to compete at the next level of athletics, that being the college level. But 100% of those athletes move on to the next level of life, and that being adulthood and citizenship in their community. The public school system exists for the purpose of preparing those people to move on to that next level, adulthood, citizenship in their community. Obviously, the academic component is a major part of that preparation. Students simply need a good, solid background in math and science, and they need to have literacy skills that will allow them to move into the job market or go to the next level of education. But also, I believe that athletics certainly plays a role that's very complementary to the role that academics plays. And the role of academics is essential to the success of that educational program in preparing athletes to move on to the next level. Some of life's most valuable and essential lessons can't be taught in the classroom. In fact, they can't be taught anywhere at all. But these are lessons that simply have to be learned, lessons that are learned only through experience. I believe it's the ball fields and the gymnasiums of our public schools that are the learning labs, where students have the opportunity to acquire that type of learning. Through their participation in athletics, students can develop personal qualities that will allow them to use their academic skills to the utmost and to maximize what they've learned in their academic program. You know, there are qualities such as leadership and dedication, teamwork, perseverance. They're very hard to teach in the academic classroom, but they can be learned through participation in athletics. You learn that by participating in athletics, and it's always been my opinion that that's one advantage that the small schools have over the big schools. Regardless of whether your school has 250 students or 2,500 students, you put 11 on the field for football, you put 6 on the court for volleyball, and you put 5 on the court for basketball. And what that tells me is that your students who attend smaller schools have a better chance of actually getting in the game and being a participant. Students in the smaller schools become participants and not just spectators. They're involved with actually making things happen instead of sitting in the stands and simply watching things happen. This carries over, in my opinion, to the next level, to their adult lives, where they continue to be participants and to make things happen. I think that's why in this community you have organizations such as Bridge Builders, you have Chicks for a Cure, you have the Lady Cats, you have the Textbook and Supply Foundation, you have the Alumni Football Players Association. These are all people who take it upon themselves to make things happen, good things happen in the community. Another thing we have is a comprehensive youth sports program. And what that does is prepare the next generation of young people to come up and take their place in the gymnasium, on the field, and learn the lessons that can't be taught in the classroom, but lessons that will carry on into their adult life. You know, over the years, we've been very successful in athletics here at Trimble High School. I'm told that since the consolidation in 1964, there are over 105 athletes in this school that have been named to the All-Ohio teams. Some of them have been All-Ohio more than 1 year. Some of them have been All-Ohio in more than one sport. But 105 since consolidation in 1964. But more important than the individual success that these people have achieved is the success that Trimble's enjoyed as a team. The trophy cases in this building have been expanded since the building was open, and they're still filled to overflowing. Our purpose in being here this evening is to put 5 more pictures on that wall out there in the Athletic Hall of Fame, and to recognize some of the athletes who've been responsible for filling up those trophy cases over the years. So what we're here to do this evening is to meet 5 new members of the Trimble Athletic Hall of Fame.
Good evening. Our first inductee is William Bill Brown, a member of Glouster High School's class of 1950. Listed in your program are some of the accomplishments of Mr. Brown during his years as a student athlete at Glouster High School, and I thought I would like to take a few moments to add some information to what's written there. Mr. Brown made an impact on Trimble athletics Tomcat athletics the second he stepped foot in Glouster High School, starting for the football team, the basketball team, and the baseball team as a freshman. As a football player, he was the starting left end, and for his era and system, which they were a single wing football team, he would be considered one of the top receivers in the area. As a result, he was named twice to the All-Muskingum Valley League team. Mr. Brown was an exceptional athlete in these 3 sports, but it was basketball where he was head and shoulders above the crowd, quite literally. Because he was a 4-year starter, the basketball preview that the newspapers wrote each season read as a de facto growth chart for Mr. Brown. He started as a 6-foot freshman, then a 6'2" sophomore, 6'4" as a junior, and then his senior year, he was 6'7". During his final 2 years of basketball, Mr. Brown became a dominant force in the MVL. His junior year, he averaged 14.5 points per game. His senior year, his average increased to 23 points per game. His career scoring total is currently at 1,025 points. The reason why we say it that way is because we are missing the box scores for 10 games. So his point total is surely higher than that. During his senior year, Mr. Brown outscored Glouster's opponents by himself 6 times. On January 27th, 1950, in a game against Crooksville, Bill Brown scored 40 points, which at that time, and the time of his graduation, broke the single game scoring record for Glouster High School and the single game scoring record for the Muskingum Valley League. More importantly than his individual accomplishments, he helped transition the Tomcats from a last place basketball team his freshman year to second in the MVL his senior year. In 1950, the high schools were divided into 2 classes, Class A and Class B. There were 905 Class B basketball teams in the state of Ohio, and the president of the Ohio High School Athletic Association said that somewhere in the neighborhood of 40,000 boys played Class B basketball. The Associated Press selected 15 out of these 40,000 players for their All-Ohio team. And in 1950, there was quite a bit of controversy over some of the names that were left off that list. Because of that, the AP actually wrote an article explaining the criteria that they had used to select the teams, saying that the top priority was individual scoring. Mr. Brown was not selected for the AP All-Ohio team, even though he outscored 9 of the 15 players who were selected to the All-Ohio team. When the Class B coaches were able to pick an all-star team to play against the larger Class A schools, Mr. Brown was in the starting 5. Mr. Brown enrolled in Ohio University and was invited to try out for the varsity basketball team his first year and made it to the final round of cuts before being placed on the freshman team. That school year coincided with the beginning of the Korean conflict, and Mr. Brown decided to leave college at the conclusion of his freshman year to enlist in the United States Army. He served for the duration of the conflict and returned to Ohio University and completed his degree. Mr. Brown lived most of his adult life in Milan, Ohio. He was very active in the Edison High School Athletic Boosters, where he, his wife Margaret, his sons Keith and Carl, and daughters Ann and Karen lived for most of their lives. Mr. Brown passed away in 1991, and his daughter Karen informed us earlier this week that she nor any of her siblings would be able to attend tonight. So therefore, the Trimble Athletic Hall of Fame will be accepting his induction on his behalf. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. First of all, I just wanted to congratulate all the inductees for this year. This is a really good class. I know Jacob and Connor, I texted both of you guys earlier. Congratulations to you guys. I know we've always had a really good football program here, and I think those two really escalated that and took us to a new level, helped set the bar. So congratulations to you guys. Taylor, I remember the first time I came into a gym, watched her play. I said, why is our point guard doing the jump ball? And I think the referee threw the ball up in the air, and she jumped up and tipped it over to her teammate and was down the floor before the other team knew what happened. So two things. For one, that's why she's doing the jump ball. For two, it's kind of embarrassing because I think she could probably out-jump me. William Brown, obviously, wasn't around to see him play. 6'7", I'm sure he's probably a pretty dominant player in his own right in his time. But I'm here today to talk about a good friend of mine, childhood friend, Matt Chrisman. You can see a lot of his accomplishments, and I'll go ahead and go over some of these here. He was a graduate in 2006. He was a three-year letterman in football, 4-year letterman in both basketball and baseball. He was the all-district selection in football during his senior year and all Tri-Valley Conference selection in baseball during his sophomore, junior, and senior years. In basketball, Matt was an all-TVC and all-district selection in his sophomore, junior, and senior years. He was an all-Ohio selection and player of the year as a senior. Matt scored over 1,000 points, accumulated over 800 rebounds. He was lucky enough to play college basketball at Rio Grande before moving on and completing his degree. And anesthesiologist, right? Is that correct, Matt? Am I right on that? Huh? Nurse anesthetist. Okay, see, that's past my pay grade. So those are just some things right there that, his accomplishments, but I thought I'd speak on some of the stories and the memories that, we had playing together along with some of our other classmates. I think Matt might be the fifth or sixth inductee out of our graduating class. So, we had a great class that we grew up with, both boys and girls, very competitive from an early age to kind of help push each other to be better. I can remember in football season, we were playing Nelsonville, and there was a thing, we were actually just talking about this in film the other day, me and Coach was, there was a thing called crackback blocks, and I was a corner, And me and Matt were always on the same side of the field, and he played defensive end. And he's probably laughing right now because he knows where this is going. We had a crackback block. If you just don't know, is somebody, the receiver will crack back down on a defensive end or an outside linebacker, which is where Matt played. And they call it a crackback block because when they hit you, it made a loud cracking sound. But we were taught, Coach Ferris always, to give them a heads up when somebody was crackback blocking on you. And this one game, I think my guy left me to go hit Matt, and I made 2 tackles in a row. And every time I looked back, Matt was picking himself up off the ground, adjusting his helmet. And I'll keep this PG-13, but he wasn't real happy with me when we got back to the huddle. Even though I made a tackle for loss, I kind of left my teammate out to dry. So he told me, he said in some nice words, if that happens again, we're going to have problems. I think 2 plays later, it was third or fourth down, they run it again. And here goes my guy. And I was so focused on tackling the guy, I completely forgot to give Matt a lookout. And I made the tackle. We stopped him. And I looked back, and there's Matt again on his adjusting. I think he was looking at me out of his ear hole. And so I didn't even hesitate. I just ran over to get the play from Coach Ferris, and that way I didn't even have to see him for a couple plays, hoping he'd forget about it. But again, like I said, the memories and stuff that we have, I know when I took over coaching and when Coach Ferris asked me to come help him with baseball, he told me to talk with my wife and everything and make sure this is something that you guys are good with. And so I talked to her, and the one thing she asked me, she said, why do you what makes you want to get back into coaching? And I told him I miss being around the guys. I miss the ups, I miss the highs, the lows, preparing for, teams, and just all the successes that we had. And I know me and Matt and Anthony's over here, but we had some good times growing up together. And those are things that you never get back. And I talk to the guys all the time now, and I'm sure they probably goes through one ear and out the other, but these are good times, and the memories that you make. Obviously you remember the games, but the bus rides, all the times coming over and staying on at your guys' house, and from our dads yelling at us when we were kids, expecting the world out of us. It only made us better, and I miss those times. Basketball, again, he was a 1,000-point scorer. I can remember I assisted him on his 1,000th point. We all knew, again, it was Matt's accomplishment, but as a team together, we wanted that for him. So the whole game, I think, I didn't pass the ball to anybody else. I think I had 10 assists in the first half. So how many? Yeah. So we get the ball, and I look over at Coach Coons, who's over here, and he said, this is it. He needs, I think, 1 point. So I beat my guy down the floor, and I'm dribbling, and I look up, and Matt has the guy guarding him boxed out to the wall, pretty much. And he's going like this. I said, so I threw it to him, I'm pretty sure, from the volleyball line. And he caught it, drop stepped, and scored his 1,000th point. So, again, those are always, like I said, great memories that we had together. I can remember coming down the floor, and Coach Coons always gave us the green light when we needed to stop their momentum and we needed an easy basket. And I could always just give a fist to the right or a fist to the left, and Matt knows exactly what that was. That was everybody over here. Me and Matt's going to run the pick and roll and try to get us an easy basket. I think we wheeled Anthony on a double screen for a three-pointer, which he was always open. And I was always getting yelled at because if I threw it to him, then Matt was yelling at me. If I threw it to Matt, then Anthony was open by the Tomcat pole. And he did. In their defense, they both were pretty good players in their own right. That's why they're in this Hall of Fame. Baseball, again, I think you can. My dad, who knows quite a bit about baseball, played at Ohio State, was Mr. Baseball in the state of Ohio, will tell. I'm sure, Brian, you can remember how often he tried to get Matt to focus on baseball only, because he was a big believer that Matt, if he would have really put his effort in all the time in the summer and played Legion baseball and did stuff like that with his frame, with his natural arm talent, that he could have been a Division I pitcher. So he liked the basketball route instead. So I know Dad, I can remember Dad griping, he just played baseball all summer, that kid. And so I can remember, Brian, I'm sure you can remember him trying to talk you into it. But again, like I said, I'm not a big public speaker by any means, but I just wanted to thank Matt for the opportunity to come up here and speak on his behalf. Again, he was a great player, and this is well-deserved. You're joining a great class if you go out here on the wall. We've had some great athletes over the years here. And so it's an honor to be on that wall, and you're well deserved. So I'll bring him up now and welcome Matt Chrisman into the Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming out. Can you hear me? I'm far from this. All right. Terry got a hold of me a few weeks ago. He actually got a hold of me last year and tried to get me in then, and I was out of the state hunting something at the time, so I wasn't able to make it, but I'm glad to be here tonight. He said I had to give a speech, and when I asked him how long would I talk about, he's just kind of left it open. So I hope you guys are comfortable. We're going to be here a while. So I'm just kidding. Real quick, off the paperwork, I did write a few things down I want to touch on. Just laughing with Chaz, looking at some of these names, I think Terry talked about a lot of guys finishing school that were successful and moving off and doing other things. And I'm only 40 minutes away, but I don't come back too much. As a matter of fact, I came back for 4 or 5 games to watch my nephew Mason play this year. But when I look at the names on that Hall of Fame list, man, I was lucky. I didn't have to do a lot. I was surrounded by studs. I mean, I played with some of the best athletes I feel to come through the school, and of course, Coonsy may say he did or other guys did, but I was really lucky, So thanks for all those guys. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. As much as I love talking, I despise public speaking, as you can see. I don't really care for it. A few things, rather than talk about myself, I'm just going to thank everyone who helped me get here. Start out with you guys. The community of Trimble, thank you all for coming. Some of you, if not all of you, have watched me play and supported me and my teams at some point, and I appreciate that. Here at Trimble, we don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of students. We don't have a lot of teachers. We don't have shopping. We don't have entertainment. We don't have movie theaters. We don't have much money. And depending on where you look, we don't have many teeth either. But what we do have is a really tight-knit community. And anyone here and anyone that came to our games, and I know from the time I was growing up to now, would give you the shirt off their back, and they do anything to support the kids and athletes of this community. So for that, guys, thank you. Next, my coaches. From Biddy League all the way up, every one of you have left an impact, either on the field or off the field. It's a lot of pages, but it's just big font because my eyes are getting old and I can't see so well anymore. So you coaches pushed me and my teammates to some pretty awesome accomplishments, so for that, thank you. As I look around, I see quite a few of you coached me at some point in my life. Next, I want to thank all my teammates. I could go on and on about stories, little stories like Chaz did, but got bedtime, so I won't do that. But I'll never forget all the long rebounds I got off of Anthony's brick threes. All the lob passes into the paint from Chaz. 7-on-7 camps and my buddies who made up the nasty 9, but I'm not going to go anywhere around that. What I will say is I love you guys. It's been years. We don't talk much. We have lives, families, jobs, and you guys have kids now. Losers. But when I look over there, I made one text message and I got a couple of my buddies here, and I knew what I already knew. It confirmed it that we're boys for life, not just high school. So, thank you. Last but not least, man, I'm falling apart up here. I want to thank my mom and dad. None of this sure as hell would have been possible without you. I can remember riding my mom's minivan when she got off work to every practice. I never missed. Sometimes more than one practice. Because AAU, her summer baseball. Dad, he worked a lot. He always made sure I had everything I wanted. I had a new baseball bat every year. I had new cleats. I had new shoes. Not because I needed it or it made me better, but it made me happy. It's what I wanted. He put a lot of time in the gym with me, late nights playing basketball. I remember playing one-on-one against him and Jeff Coons because he was a janitor and had keys. So he'd let me in after hours. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. I remember Dad catching for me in the gym until I broke his foot. There was a time that I had a lot of speed and no accuracy. And I graduated with a lot of speed and no accuracy. But that's okay. My mom and dad matched my effort when it came to sports, maybe even gave more than I. To my knowledge, I can't look back and remember one sporting event you guys missed. From T-ball to Rio. It was important to me then, but now as a grown man with my own busy life, it means more. You pushed me within reason, and I can't thank you enough. Kat, you weren't here. You were overseas, probably speaking another language at the time, but if you were, you'd have been my biggest fan. You've shaped me in a lot of ways too. Thank you. This being said, my biggest accomplishments are not high school sports. Not even close. You know, to touch on what Terry says, it gives you a foundation. And you don't know that at the time. But later on, you look back and realize it. It laid the groundwork for who I become. It taught me a lot of things I still carry with me today. Hard work, dedication, teamwork, love, emotion. I clearly have a lot of. And being passionate about things can take you a long ways. I see some young guys in here, and to you right now, it's all there is sports. I remember it. It was a short ride. It was a fun one. But I'd be lying if I didn't feel just a little bit proud to look back at my accomplishments. So it's nice to get to share the stage with all you guys. Thank you.
That's kind of sad, isn't it? First, I'm going to apologize for Eric because I have been going through this, and her last name is always going to be Savage. So I wrote it to Taylor Savage. In an email on December 2nd, 2016, Taylor shared with me the principles she strives to live by: dedication, pride, integrity, teamwork, appreciation, hard work, and my favorite, personal connection. Those same principles were evident all throughout her high school career, both athletically and academically. As she earned numerous accolades from 2007 to 2011 that include a 4-year varsity letter winner. 2009, she was first team All-District All-TVC. 2010, first team All-District All-TVC. In basketball, she was a 4-year varsity letter winner. In 2009, she was an All-Athens County girls basketball team selection. She was selected and played in the District 13 All-Star Game. 2010, she was first team All-TVC, special mention All-District 13. In 2011, she was first team All-TVC, special mention All-District District 13 selection, selected and played in the District 13 All-Star Game. In track and field, she was a 3-year varsity letter winner. In 2009, she was the long jump district champion, the long jump regional qualifier, a long jump state qualifier, and the 100-meter dash, she was a regional qualifier. And in 2010, Taylor was the TVC champion in long jump. She was the district long jump champion at 17 feet 2 inches, and that record still stands today. She was the regional long jump champion. She was a podium finisher for the state in the long jump at 7th place. In 2011, she was the TVC champion in long jump with a record of 17 feet 2 inches, and that record still stands in the TVC today. She was a district champion in long jump. She was a regional qualifier, a long jump state qualifier at 11th place, and she was also a 3-year varsity letter winner. Just like Matt said, those things are amazing, absolutely amazing. But Taylor is so much more than those things. I want to share 2 of my favorite stories that I will treasure forever in my time of coaching Taylor. The first speaks directly to her integrity. Coaching girls is hard. Emotions runs high, and sometimes they can completely derail a team. This particular team had its share of big emotions. Whenever I felt that culture slipping, I'd gather everybody up and I'd say, "What's going on?" Most of the time, the team, well, they would just say, "Nothing, coach, nothing's going on." And so I would look at Taylor and I would say, "Taylor, what's happening?" And she would go, "Well," and anytime that Taylor Savage goes, "Well," just know somebody's not telling you the truth. So I got to use that about her, and that's just who she is. She's honest to the core. Every single thing about her. My second story, probably my favorite story that I will probably tell till the day I die. If I get to talk about coaching, this story is always first. Coach Downs, Chris Downs and I, we went to South Gallia. We had Kelsey with a torn labrum. We had Emily Harper that was puking with the flu. We had Jesse Spears, who caught that same bug. The lineup was a mess. And to make matters worse, I look over and I look at Taylor and I go, "Ooh, she does not look good." I look around and we start a 5th set. I mean, it's embarrassing to say now, okay? It's still embarrassing. We start a 5th set with South Gallia. And I'm looking around like, oh, good grief, we have never lost to South Gallia. We're in a 5th set. Are you serious? This is our life right now? Like, what's happening? We're going to a 5th set. Are we going to lose to South Gallia? So we go point for point this whole game. And Taylor was getting ready to go back to serve, and I was like, oh, thank God. Taylor has this massive top spin serve. I mean, it's just crazy. She stands back there, she flips that ball 6 feet in the air, and she does this big old serve where she's jumping up in the air, and boom. Usually, we're getting a free point out of that. But I'm looking at her, and I'm like, yeah, you look like crap. You're not good. So I'm like looking at Taylor, and I'm giving her the zone to serve to so that we can get this free point, and she pulls her shirt, her jersey out, vomits down the front of her jersey. I'm a germaphobe, so I'm like, rubs it in before I can say anything, throws the ball up in the air, boom, Tomcats win, ace, good for Taylor, yay. I'm standing there and I'm thinking 2 things. I got 2 emotions at this point. 1, you're disgusting. But then I was just in awe because I realized that is Taylor. She's tough as nails and unwilling to quit. Even outside of volleyball, I'll talk just a little bit about basketball, and I don't know anything about basketball. Nothing. Okay? To be honest. Sorry. I'd watch Taylor dish this ball all over the court and watch her teammates score, and what I was always impressed with, Taylor wasn't a big scorer. Taylor dished that ball and watched everybody else score, but you would never know that it was not her because she celebrated each and every point with her teammates as if each and every point came from her. So that was always real impressive. And in 2021, when I was coaching her sister, Lakin, the great Howie Caldwell told me, enjoy it, coach. You don't get to coach kids like that all the time. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And all I could do was smile because I'd been blessed 3 times. I've been blessed first with Taylor, and then I was blessed with Tia, and then I was blessed with Lakin. I didn't have the opportunity to coach Erwin and Jilly and Callie, but I know, and I have watched Taylor watch those kids, and she's just as proud as those 3 kids is what I got to see the light in her eye when she got to watch Tia and Lakin, and even got to play with Tia. So the principles Taylor lived out in high school carried into her college career, both athletically and academically, and now in her professional career as director at Experience at Columbus. If you can stalk people, and I'm real good at this, and you do this LinkedIn stuff that I'm not very good at, and maybe you do like a Google search on a name, and you look up Taylor, you're going to see some other very big accomplishments. She was selected for the Leadership Columbus Signature Program, class of 2026. She is honored in March of 2025 by the PMCA Rocky Mountain Chapter with the Outstanding Service Award. Named the Destinations International 30 Under 30 in 2022, she was appointed Entertainment Chair at BizBash in 2022. She served from 2019 to 2022 on the Brewers Ball Entertainment Committee, where she was nominated, and this is my favorite thing, she was nominated as one of Central Ohio's finest after she and her team raised $5,600 for cystic fibrosis research in honor of her cousins Bo and Brody Bykowski. She's also recognized in the Connect Association for 40 Under 40 in 2022. 2 principles that Taylor emailed me back in 2016. I just got to add 2 more for you. It'd be grace and gratitude. Taylor consistently shows grace to those around her, everyone she meets, her family, her community, and she challenges things in such a way that she's always building relationships. And an email that Taylor sent me, I don't know why we email when you can text, but Shelly's old, so she doesn't have the Snapchat or anything like that. And an email she sent me on April 9th of 2022, she said, whenever I'm faced with an obstacle, a tough decision, or I'm trying to make something work that just won't work, I reflect on when I made that decision and feel comfortable in following my gut. I was born into an incredible support system, and I've also met incredible people along the way that have always reminded me that things happen for a reason, and it's up to me to learn, respond, move forward, and get ready for the next obstacle. That statement sums up exactly who Taylor is, which is resilient, principled, and remarkable. Taylor, congratulations on your induction into the Trimble Athletic Hall of Fame. You are so deserving of this honor, and knowing who you are and doing the Google search, I have no doubt that we will have the privilege of attending many more ceremonies to celebrate the legacy that you're building for yourself. Congratulations.
All right, so it's funny because about last September, I was thinking I was writing the most difficult speech when I was writing Tia's maid of honor speech for her wedding. And then I started to put pen to paper for this one, and I'm like, oh, this blows it out of the water. All the emotions of thinking back to what this community has given me and all the opportunities that I've had was just so emotional and really hard to condense into this speech. So I am going to read it word for word, so don't judge me if I don't look up. But firstly, thank you to the Alumni Association and to all of you here tonight. Thanks to everybody, Grandma, special shout out, that made the food. It was amazing, and set up the tables. Yes, Mr. Curtis, there's plenty of seating, so good job on instructing the setup. So just thanks to everybody for making this happen and celebrating the legacy of all of the Tomcats here. Like, again, looking at the pamphlet and seeing the 2004 through 2006 classes, those are the years that I was young, going to those games with my grandma and grandpa, and I remember being so inspired. So thank you to everyone in those classes for just making sports so fun and reminding you of how that Tomcat pride is so real. I got off script, so I'm going back on it now. So as I look around, I'm humbled by this honor. I see people who created the opportunities that shaped me, not just as an athlete, but as a person. I've always been proud to be a Trimble Tomcat, and tonight I get to celebrate all of you sharing just a little bit about how being a part of this community made me who I am today. So let me start with the community. Because of this community, because this community is just so special. This is the kind of place where you always know where someone has your back, whether it's giving you a ride to a game, helping raise money for uniforms or some cause, or being the loudest cheerleader in the stands. People show up. From a young age, I learned the value of showing up for others, and that's something I try to carry with me into every community that I go into. And it's not easy, but our community could teach a master class on it. Some of my earliest memories are heading to games with my grandma and grandpa Fouts. They'd load me and T up, and sometimes our cousin Jacob, into our matching red Tomcat coats. Do you remember those with the hood, and they were the red? I think Pierce Top Shop sold them. We'd all be in our matching ones, and we would go to any basketball game, any football game. We never really missed anything, rain or shine. And I was so proud to be watching my older cousins, Brucey and Blake, play. And Kelsey Downs, now Stevens, I'm gonna forget to say people's now last name a little bit, so you'll hear more in. But Kelsey Downs and I, we thought we'd made it big when we got to do the halftime announcing on Channel 15 for the varsity boys basketball games. To my middle school self, that was epic. So if all of you in this room are like, you two were nerds, it's okay, we own it. And then there was the back-to-back trip to Pickerington for the Lady Tomcats who made it to the Final Four. Jennifer Grady, Julie Trace, that whole class, Tim, that was an amazing run that they had then, and that was so inspiring. To me, that was huge, and that made me just want to be as cool as they all were. So how sports have shaped me. I think we can all agree that sports teaches lessons that no classroom ever could. Yes, classrooms are fine, but sports just, yeah, that experience that you get, it is like a lab. You said that so well earlier. Growing up with teammates like Jessie Spears, Emily Harper, Kelsey Downs, and Cassie Chrisman made every practice and every game something I look forward to. We didn't just compete against other schools, we were competing against each other and we pushed each other, but at the same time we were best friends and we only wanted the best for each of us. When I started running track, I'll never forget Kirsten North. She pushed me to go harder, run fast, and dig deeper. Not because she told me to, because she was, and it was just pushing me so hard that I'll always look for that in other people that just pushes. That competitiveness is addicting. That love for sports never left me. These days, I mostly just golf, and I'll usually find a way to tag around a golf onto a work conference, and that's networking at its finest. Sports is also how I met my husband, Eric, on a flag football team about 9 years ago in Columbus. My dad likes to joke that I had to move all the way to Columbus to find me a Meigs County boy. And he's not wrong, and I'll be the first to admit flag football is not my sport. But I embarrassed myself, and Eric still took me, so I guess it worked out. Sports even sneaks into my work. I catch myself using sports analogies in meetings all the time. My mom used to do the same thing, but it was about how I can't finish a task and cleaning my room, and it's like how I can't make a layup in basketball. And it used to drive me crazy, but now I get it. Sports does play a role in so many other things, and that's a compliment to you, Mom, because I love it now. And I get it. But there's just something about drawing from game time situations or a play that gives perspectives on how to handle people, challenges, and goals. So it really is like I can say, we're not running the same play, let's get aligned. Let's watch some game film here. It just always plays into my day-to-day. And then how my family shaped me. This side of the room, thank you for being here. Of course, none of this would have been possible without my family, and it's not easy to make it to every game, to spend every night in a gym or on a track, but my family did. My mom, a previous Hall of Fame honoree here, and my dad, a Hall of Fame from that school over the hill, they were just always around and there and supportive. My mom worked 2 jobs and never missed a game. My dad lived almost an hour and a half away, He was deployed my 8th grade year and my senior year, but he made it to everything that he could. My grandparents on both sides at everything. My sister's basically raised in a gym, and now I love that I get the opportunity to watch you all thrive and have thrived. My aunts and uncles and cousins, they all showed up too, get in the vehicle and came to my games. And I can't talk about family without mentioning my grandpa Fouts. Stopping by their house after a game to hear him talk about the game, one of my favorite memories. And I just let him talk. I didn't even involve myself in the conversation. I just loved to hear what he had to say. And sometimes I'd walk into complete homes, like in high school, after school, and he'd be back in the back room of Complete Homes watching my game from the night before on Channel 15. He made me feel like I never wanted to disappoint, but also that I never could. Really empowering. And I got to give a shout out to Channel 15, because honestly, we're so lucky that they were here to capture everything that they have over the years and save those moments. So coaches and teammates. I also owe so much to my coaches. They were teachers, mentors, and role models who shaped not just how I played, but who I am and who I'm continuing to become. And I really gained perspective on what it means to be a coach when I tried it for myself after college. I coached a club volleyball team for a season, and let me tell you, I walked away with a whole new respect. Coaching meant wearing 15 different hats to 15 different people and trying to make the right decision that was never right. And just, you want to give your heart and your soul into these people to help them grow and, become good people. It takes a lot, and I have a very deep appreciation for all coaches ever, and a new respect for all those that impacted me, because your sacrifices, you've made a lot of them, so thank you. To name just a few, Shelley, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for just always being there. You've always challenged me, pushed me out of my comfort zone, and taught me how to recognize the strengths in others, which I really appreciate, having that awareness to recognize when what they bring to the table. Thank you for being such a big part of my life in general, but also tonight. It means a lot. And please pass along to Jerry that I do feel like he taught me a lot of perseverance, because he always pushed me to do one more sit-up, one more sprint. I could do it. I didn't want to, but Jerry always pushed me to in practice. Dave Richards, he brought a kindness and fun to practice while holding us to high standards. Love him. I do owe him some apologies for changing his ringtone and making Alice mad at him and all the things. Mr. Campbell, just an amazing individual. You're always there, steady, encouraging, making me feel like I could do anything that I wanted to do, and you're just a joy to be around. And I got to shout out Rocky X-Line too. He was always teaching me to appreciate the consistency and the methodical work that goes into becoming better. And then last, but so important, Chris Downs. Wish he was here tonight, but sorry, one second. So when my dad was deployed, my 8th grade year and my senior year, he always stepped up. He made sure I was taken care of, picked me up, made everything light and fun, and was just such a great presence in my life. He simultaneously took such amazing care of my needs while also coaching me and trying to push me to be better. It was amazing how he could handle all of that. And then finally, to the Alumni Association, thank you for everything that you're doing. The work you do to preserve and honor the tradition of being a Trimble Tomcat means so much. And I don't know if I'm sure you recognize this, but you're just instilling in future generations the importance of camaraderie, teamwork, Tomcat pride. So putting on this evening means a lot. And thank you to everyone that's here tonight. I'm so grateful to be a part of this legacy. And that's it for me.
Okay, so get the honor to introduce Jacob Coons, but I do want to say the other inductees. It's kind of funny seeing you guys here and hearing you talk. how much time I probably sat and watched you play ball and didn't really have a dog in the fight, just a Trimble fan. So, thank you guys. I appreciate that, and made me realize how much you do kind of just grow up in this town and grow old. So, Jacob Coons, I've had a couple weeks or a couple days here to write a speech. A couple days to write a speech. So, had some things going on and put this down on paper kind of this afternoon, and it's accurate and it's probably not as complete as I would like it to be, but as a coach, as a fan, as a father of a tomcat that wanted to follow Jacob and Connor and raise in his mold, couldn't be prouder today. So go over just a few things here. Basketball, 3-year letter winner, all league, all district, played in the district all-star game. Football, this is probably the one that be hard to beat. 4-year letter winner, all TVC 2 years, all district 2 years, all state 2 years. In his senior year, defensive player of the year in the TVC, in the district player of the year, Division 7 defensive player in the year. Let that sink in that those are all things that he did, but he actually gave to us, and things that our community got to enjoy. So his senior year, his team played a powerhouse in Maria Stein, Marion Local, in Canton, Ohio, in a state championship. All I can say that's wow. Also had the opportunity to play in the North-South All-Star game in Dayton, Ohio. What a great representative for Trimble to have. Then he went down to Athens to Ohio University, had an opportunity to continue his career in Division I college football, where he played his heart out. And as a side note, and I know that this was important to him, he made sure that they put Glouster in the program. And those are things that are important. And I know it's important to you guys too. And didn't let him not do that. So, coaching and knowing Jacob Coons, 3 words come to mind: toughness, grit, leadership. Okay, these are all just in the sports world, not alone in life. Got a few stories on toughness, and these are great stories. So, as a coach, and a lot of these coaches, Coach Ferris and Coach Campbell, you always hear of people having asthma, and how many, you have these plastic totes with 12 asthma inhalers, and nobody ever has asthma, really. Doctors just hand it out because. So, junior high, it's a hot August, we're pushing, guys, pushing. All of a sudden, I look at Jacob, and I can see in his eyes, he's in trouble, like no air, 0 air. And as an individual, I'd probably tend to go on the hard side. But when you look in somebody and they have 0 air, you can tell that it's a serious situation. So I panic. I take off running across the practice field. And just like everybody, we have a plastic tote with a doctor's note and an EpiPen and all these things, and I'm just throwing stuff out. And I'm looking at Jacob across the field, and I'm throwing. I finally find an inhaler. I run it over to him. He does 2 puffs and gasp air. 0 clue whose inhaler it was. Didn't care. But most players would never get to that point. No player I've ever been around would ever push themselves to the point that they couldn't have any air. Jacob Coons would. Second one, we're junior high again, but I think the next year we're doing a drill, head on head, tackling each other. Brandon Henderson. Brandon Henderson hits him. He hits Brandon Henderson. Brandon's a big, tall guy. Lifts him like at the butt, and they fall down. I hear a stick break. I'm like, he gets up and his arms like deformed and off to the side. And so my wife actually was just running around the track, which is a nurse practitioner. So I holler like, hey, come over. We don't have trainers back then like we do now, or I don't even know what we have this year, but Anyway, so she takes a magazine and a piece of duct tape, and we tape it up and call the Coonses, and they drive him to Children's Hospital, Columbus. And the doctor says, you know, I think you're out 6 weeks. You're going to have a cast up to here. And I would say Jacob and probably Monica, not Jeff, but say, no, he's playing football. We gotta do this. So they convince a doctor in Children's Hospital to put a short cast on him, and he tapes it up and plays the rest of the year, never misses a snap that I know of. Toughness, right? All these tough things end up around injury. So I'm going to go with one last one. This was his freshman year, and this is actually in my phone. I'll show you guys at some point tonight if I bump into you. But we're playing basketball, and he goes up. No, he's chasing Tyler Slack. Tyler Slack's elbow hits him in the face, and his nose goes over to the side of his face, completely to the side of his face. So I run over there because I can tell there's blood everywhere, and tell Jacob. Jacob goes to the restroom with somebody else. I call Jeff. I'm like, Jeff, you have to come and get Jacob. He's been injured bad. And he goes, well, how bad is it? I was like, well, it's pretty bad. I think it's significant. I wouldn't call you. He's like, well, I'll maybe be down there in a little bit. I was like, no, you got to come and get him right now. He's a freshman. He's probably got to go to the hospital. He's like, well, I don't think so. Jacob's like, no, I'm fine. He comes out with 2 tampons and his nose straightened back up. Like it was here, I mean, touching his cheek, and he comes back out. He put it back in place himself, but when he come, it was like a lightning bolt. And so I think I finally convinced Jeff that practice is over for Jacob. He's not practicing, and he takes him to the hospital. And I believe you have another surgery, right? He gets a surgery on his nose and plays the rest of the season with a big mask on his face and black eyes, and doesn't miss a play. Okay, so those are just little opportunities, and I promise you, if you ask Coach Ferris, if you ask Mr. Campbell, all those guys, everybody's got a million stories about those types of toughness with those guys, and those are the things. So when we talk about leadership, just a quick story, and I've heard this one over and over and over again, and it was one of those litmus moments. It was their freshman year, and they've always been the best players around in sports, and they play a pretty mature JV Crooksville team. And so they're a bunch of freshmen, and I think they kind of get humbled a little bit. But I think as a group, they get together and say, we're probably not going to be able to do this just on athletic ability alone. And maybe this meeting or this one moment probably sets them on a journey. But from that day on, I think they laid out a path for their group and their team to outwork everyone, and they did. And to me, those are some leadership things that'll never be forgotten. Jacob was voted a 2-time captain, and that speaks volumes to his leadership. I think it's almost unheard of for people around here to be a 2-time captain, and I think the kids around him and the coaches around him always knew that those leadership skills were there. And this is one of the more important ones to me, is the state championship team that Jacob was on. I've always said this: flip the script for Trimble football. In my opinion, any team I've ever been on, around, coached, and even them, when I asked what the goal was, it was always to go 10-0 or to win a TVC championship. And they made it possible to win a state championship. So from that day on, that could be the goal for elite Trimble teams, that it's not this dream that every dad thinks of. It's not something that's unreal. It's possible that we win a state title here. And I think could happen someday. And that's because that team, that group, those leaders, those hardworking bunch of men made it possible. And I think we all thank you for that, okay, from the bottom of my heart. Knowing Jacob Coons has made me and many people around him a better person. by watching his work ethic and determination, knowing his family and the great influence that they've made on him. It's with great pride, Tomcat pride, that I announce Jacob Coons, 2025 Athletic Hall of Fame.
I wrote some things down. I wasn't going to, then Connor's calls got to me, so I started writing stuff down. You kind of forget what it was like to be in school until stuff like this happens, and me and Connor called each other, what are you wearing, what are you doing, what time are we supposed to be there? One quick funny story. So we're freshmen, and we get to play some varsity on things, and as the year went on, we got to play more. Remember, we'd always show up early, try to get some shots in or whatever. We just finished football, so we kind of have an idea how varsity sports go. Well, me and him's first two there, we're getting dressed, and I looked at Connor, I said, what are you wearing? He said, what do you mean? I said, you got the wrong color on. He said, no, red's home. I said, maybe in football, but not in basketball. So I think he wore a sweatshirt to warm up in until his mom or brother or somebody brought him the right color. But I'm sure he's caught me doing dumber things than that before. So, but thanks, Coach Kittle. I appreciate all that. I know me and Connor always like playing for you. Our kind of coach. It's weird. Matt caught me off guard getting emotional, but I'll get emotional. You forget how much this means for that part of your life. I think we all get busy, me especially, and when I'm doing something, I'm really doing it. And I'll reference Matt some, but Matt in his professional career, that's what he's thinking about. Me with work, that's what I'm thinking about. And for a dozen years, this is what me and Connor lived for. I'll get to the speech eventually. But building off that, you forget all the faces you see every day, and it becomes a second family to you. And after you graduate, get jobs, sports are over, you forget about them until you see them all in the same place like you do tonight. And it's nice to see everybody together again. I remember growing up watching Matt and Moeller and all the Jenkinses and Anthony, all of them play. Remember having, you buy posters for NBA players, but we used to make our posters. So they weren't very good, but we had them. I'm hoping they don't exist still, but somebody might find them one day. But it's just great to see everybody back. I know, and this one will get me, one person we miss is Coach Holbert. I think everybody had a special place for Coach Donnie Holbert in their hearts. Me and Connor especially. It was always nice to see him. And the first thing he always say was, you and Connor, or probably you and Coons, and I miss those. And when Mr. Dugan called and told us, first thing I asked was who all was in. And I knew that would make Coach Holbert happy, that we were going in together. But we appreciate everything he did for us, and I'm sure he's watching. And he'd be proud that, like I said, we're going in together. Coach Kittle, some of those stories, I remember all those good ones. The picture of the nose could get lost with those posters probably, but it's still floating around. There's not a bone in your nose to break, but he says I broke it. That's what we kept telling him at practice, but no, all those stories, I just remember Coach Kittle let us play and let us develop as leaders, and I think that's what allowed me and Connor to become leaders and good athletes, because we were given the room to. I mean, he coached us, he got on us. No one pushed us harder. I mean, we had a lot of coaches like that, but he also gave us room and let us develop into the leaders, and I think that's why we were two-time captains, because we had the opportunity to be in charge, to take things in our own hands as a junior, as a sophomore, and that helped us later. I'm so honored to be recognized and inducted into this. I've stood out there in the hallway when I was a little kid reading those, and I still read them every time I walk by them. I pick somebody and read. Sometimes it's the guys I watch play. Sometimes it's, the old timers, people I've never heard of, but I know they were playing in the same place I was playing, and wanted to see what it took to get there. At the time you read those and you're a little kid, like, man, I need to average this many points. I need to have this many varsity letters, and you're counting how many varsity letters they have up there. But as you mature and realize, those numbers and stats, just a small part of it. Yes, you need to have some talent. And, you really need some luck. You need to be fortunate enough to be in the right situation, and being in that situation at the right time, and making sure you're prepared, so when that opportunity does present itself, you can reach out there and grab it. I think me and Connor were blessed to be pretty decent athletes. Do I think we were two of the best athletes in the state? No. But I think we wanted it more than anybody else. And we pushed each other more than anyone else. And that's what made the difference for us. But like I said, you got to be fortunate. And I was fortunate in a lot of ways. Had a great family. Parents that always supported me. Grandparents. Had two brothers. I got to play with one, which meant a lot. The other one got to be along for the ride for all those games. And then I got a chance of coaching. And whether it was me trying to set a good example or trying to put in mind that, we don't just have to be 8-2 TVC champs. I wanted to set that bar high, so one, they could help us get there, but for two, to show that it is something we could do. After family, coaches. Started with Little League coaches, Steve Stanley, Dennis Kish, Jason Richards, John Stevens. I remember being scared to death to go to third grade football practice because I would learn words and phrases I've never heard before. And I learned what Copenhagen spit tastes like in your eyeballs. But we were a lot tougher because of it. Remember Dennis Kish one time, he's probably cussed me, he picks me up. He said, you got to get up underneath them. And then he gets up underneath me and then drops me. Well, he probably don't realize I'm 4'6", and he drops me, and I land on my back, and no air's in me. None. And I'm just gasping. He just picks me up, taps me on my head, and runs off the field. So they just put a mean streak in us, and probably taught us things they shouldn't, but I'm glad they did. Then right after that, went to junior high, had old and young Coach Hardy, Coach Kittle, same thing. We were well coached, but I think more than anything, we were disciplined and a little meaner than everybody else because of our coaches. And that's why I like football so well, because you didn't always have to be the best athlete. You just had to want it a little bit more and be a little bit more meaner. That's why I wasn't good at baseball, because mean and playing hard don't get you too far. I was a heck of a bookkeeper, though. Coach Ferris taught me all that. Then right into high school coaches, Coach Ferris, Coach Holbert, Coach Campbell, Coach Richards, and Osborne. We had such a good base already set up. They just expanded on it. They believed in us, and same thing, giving us room. They allowed us as players to make some calls or to change things or do things our way, and it made it feel like it was our team, and I really think that helped. And then, friends and teammates. I think most people grow up with, a good friend group, good people. I was fortunate enough for those friends to be athletes and competitors. Like Connor Stanley, John Stevens, Austin Downs, Tanner Coons, my brother, Jake Kish, Jimmy Ward, Mikey Couch, Jesse Jenkins, there's a long list. Terry Simmerly, Casey Garmore. Those guys made us all better. And if you ever stopped in a practice and saw me and Kish trying to kill each other or heard Jimmy talking trash, because that's what Jimmy does, or stopped in the weight room and heard Tanner and John arguing over who was lifting more, or witnessed me and Connor screaming and throwing stuff at each other at halftime, you might have thought we hated each other. But it was far from that. We cared so much for each other, and we're comfortable enough with that we could push each other more than probably your average kid, and we expected excellence. We were able to hold each other accountable into the highest standard, and it was because of that, when it came to crunch time, when we found ourselves down 14-7 at halftime against Shadyside, we knew we could rely on each other to do our jobs, and no one would let us down. Some of us, Connor and me or Downs, we might get a lot of credit for those games, but like Shadyside, but we both know we were just fortunate enough to be the leaders of a good group. And I think we both feel blessed to have as much trust as both the coaches and our teammates had in us. That second half, I remember Bone left 5 lead quarterback keeper. And Coach Ferris calls a timeout, wants to run something different. And I don't know, John or Tanner said, the hell with that. So we just ran it a couple more times. But, Shadyside was supposed to be the tough team, our big brother, but we kicked their ass. And me and Connor's a lot slower than we were, but I bet we'd play him again right now. But like I said, we're just fortunate to be leaders of a special team at a special time in Trimble football history. And we just made sure no one ever outworked us or outprepared us, both as a team or individually. And I think that's what separated us. I'd just like to thank the committee again for this honor, and to say how proud I am for representing just not the 2013 football team, but my family and friends and coaches and everyone that had a hand in my athletic career. Thank you.
Good evening. Well, I tell you, congrats to all the inductees. You joined some pretty elite company here. There's a lot of talent and in this room, and it's a nice night to reminisce and see how you can remember how good you were as athletes, and you just get better all the time, right? I'm in awe of the speakers and presenters. I'm a little intimidated, and I usually never at a loss for words, but I have the distinct honor of being able to present my nephew, Connor Stanley. I know you can read and it's in the program, but I think that his accomplishments were so outstanding that they deserve to be mentioned again. Connor's a class of the Trimble class of 2014, and as a high school athlete, he earned 3 letters in baseball and basketball, 4 letters in football. And in basketball, he was all Tri-Valley Conference, all district selection as a junior. In football, he was all TVC and all district selection as a sophomore. During his junior year, Connor was the TVC Offensive Player of the Year, the Southeast District Offensive Player of the Year, and a first team All-Ohio selection. He repeated those same honors during his senior year and was also chosen as a Division VII State Offensive Player of the Year. Connor was quarterback of the 2013 regional champion and state runner-up team and led the Tomcats to 24 wins and only 3 losses during his junior and senior year. At the time of his induction, he held school records for passing yards in a season, 2,237 yards. Passing touchdowns in a season, 30, and passing touchdowns in a career, 50. Those are real superlatives. But I'd like to, when I think of Connor, I would describe him this way. A lot of grit, a lot of determination, lots and lots of desire, lots of drive, lots of focus. And he had this intense will to prepare to win and to make others around him better. And he knew the value of practice. He lifted weights, he watched films, he ran sprints, and he practiced until his legs would wobble. And because of this, he improved and made everybody else around him. He didn't want to just be good, he wanted to excel. And he had the same expectation for everybody else. He was very tough. And I would disagree with Jacob, but just a little bit. I was a baseball coach, and I was helping Coach Ferris, and Coach Ferris probably remembers. Connor took one of the hardest hits in the face I've ever seen. I know Kara was there. She kind of, yeah. We had a hit and run on, as I recall, Coach. Justice Jenkins, big, strong left-hander at the plate. Connor on first base. Connor, gets a sign. He's taking off, and he peeks in to see what the batter's doing. About that time, line drive catches him. I think right there, wasn't it, Connor? Yeah. Hit him pretty hard. Knocks him down. Of course, he tries to get back up, and he falls back down. He's like a prize fighter, like a Muhammad Ali puncher. He's staggering around. He said, "Get away from me. I just want to play," and talking trash. I don't know what he was kind of wasn't quite himself for a moment, but he took a severe hit in the face. And, well, you would expect, knowing Connor, that, he wanted to play the very next night. And I think we pitched him, didn't we, Coach? And he threw a 4-hitter against Kiger Creek or something. But anyway, he wanted to be back on the field and help his teammates. So that was a firsthand display of toughness that I got to witness. And we could go on and on and on about that. But one thing, we talk about carrying over some of the things we learn in sports to our jobs and our families and life in general, our careers. Well, I was able, with the help of Connor's dad, Steve, to get a few things from people that he works for. And here's something from a supervisor. It says, it's no surprise to me that Connor's being singled out for a special honor. I always knew I wanted to hire Connor the first chance I got. He's always been a great asset in our organization. When he got the opportunity to hire into AEP in another department, I was so disappointed to lose him. As soon as I had a vacancy and heard that Connor might be available, I called him. I was so glad to snag him up. As I knew he would, Connor hit the ground running in his new role. He took over a team that had poor to non-existent leadership and gave them the direction they were all craving. Connor's hardworking, diligent employee with excellent leadership skills. He also treats people with respect, and therefore he earns it in return. I look forward to working with Connor for many years. So that's firsthand. That's not some abstract thinking. That's a real person coming across with something like that. Then from one of his peers, he said, I noticed Connor's work ethic as a young age and as a work planner, and made sure he was part of my program as a utility forester. Connor has achieved remarkable success in his professional life. It wasn't long before others in our safety program noticed his intelligence and hard work ethic, and quickly moving him up to have his own program. I'm extremely proud of Connor, now being part of our AEP Ohio Forestry team and getting the recognition he so deserves. That's some real good stuff, folks. I think of Connor and Jacob and a number of others on that 2013-2014 team, and I remember the Cameron Kittles and Sawyer Coons, Connor Wrights being on the sideline as maybe 7th, 8th graders watching that undefeated team perform. And so I texted Cam and I said, can you tell me anything that you remember about Connor? He said, well, without writing a whole speech of what Connor means to me, these are the ones that stand out. Connor Stanley and the 2013 Tomcats made it more than just a dream. They made it possible to believe we could win a state title. I get chills just thinking about that. That was my goal from that point forward, as well as the rest of my teammates. When Connor called me on the way home from one of the toughest losses of his life and told me he believed that our team could win a state title. Now think of that as a young boy. And he wanted me to carry the rope. Once my class made it into high school. Remember, Connor would carry the rope, and he kind of willed it to Cameron, I guess. A journey of discipline, belief, and drive to chase something truly great still sets with me. I'll be forever grateful for him for inspiring me and paving the way to achieve what I did throughout my career. Now, this is a guy that played in the state championship game, went on, suited up as an Ohio State Buckeye, played with the world's best. So that's pretty neat. And he says, and of course he helped me in other areas of development. He helped me develop my talent, and he, more importantly, helped develop my character. So that's a pretty neat testimony. Along with that, I just wanted to, some of you saw a post that was reposted, I guess, by Troy Boland's post about the 2013 season. Athens had a heck of a season that year, and that was, of course, our great season. Now, I just want to paraphrase some of that. There are a lot of really good athletes on the field, including Joe Burrow, who we all know about, future Heisman winner, Mr. Ohio in football, Cincinnati Bengal. And there were 20 players on from both sides of the ball. They ended up going D1 football or better or some level of football. Anyway, heck of a game. We had the offensive player of the year. We had the defensive player of the year. We just had some really good athletes on the field. And as you recall, we won that half of football 21-20. And people still wonder, what if we'd have played the whole game? What if that had been a regular season game? Who would have won?
We got ball coming out of half.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind, Trimble with its junkyard mentality, in the leadership provided by Jacob and Connor and others, that was a pretty good game. And then, of course, there was breaking the Wahama 24-game streak, and probably one of the toughest football games I've ever witnessed, the hardest hitting games, and then on and on and on. But anyway, that just doesn't happen without excellent leadership. Good captains, good work ethic, people who are willing to go pick you up to get you to the weight room. I think you guys did that. You wanted to make sure there's no excuses. We're going to do this. We're going to do it right. And probably one of the things that stands out to me the most was, and I think I get this right, it's a hell of a story if it's not right, but when the bus was leaving to go to Canton, you're going to go to the Hall of Fame game and all that, and I think the elementary kids were waiting for you, right? And wasn't there some discussion, we may not have time to do that? And I don't know if it was Connor, I don't know if it was both of you, I don't know, but they said, no, we got to go. These kids are waiting for us. And they marched down there like rock stars. And those kids have never forgot it. Never forget it. So I want to thank you for that. I mean, that's what people of the caliber that are in the Hall of Fame do. And so it's with distinct honor and privilege that I'm going to present Connor Stanley to you right now.
I don't guess I need it. Coons and Steve went over both of mine. I guess I don't need to be here. All right. First, I want to thank the Trimble Athletic Hall of Fame. I want to congratulate 2025 inductees. I'm going to try not to get emotional. All three of these guys did. But, I probably really give most of my toughness. I'm not going to lie to my dad. He was hard on us. I say my ears are so big because he drug us around by them. we could fly them. We could fly away with our ears, me and my brother, because boy, he drug us around by them. But guess what? He made us into the men we are today, and I think my mom would agree to that. So, as I sit back and think about my career at Trimble, I have fond memories of all sports, but I can't ignore football. Football was all of them to me. So, Coons went over a lot of them, but, this is going to be in my speech, but how could he forget Mohawks? I mean, that was everything, right? So I'm going to start with Little League. Little League football, again, Coons said it, Dennis Kish screaming at us, chew spit in our face. We turn around, there's my dad grabbing us right by the face mask, screaming in our face. But there again, that's exactly what made us tough. These boys right here, I got one kid right over there. I coach these kids right here, 7th and 8th grade football. I do the same stuff to them. But they're here supporting me because guess what? They want to be here someday, But I'll tell you what, their parents are also here because their parents are like my parents. So just remember that if there's any other kids in here, want to have parents like their parents, want to be coachable, okay? Want to have parents that's hard on you, okay? Want to be able to be parented. It's not easy. All right? Guarantee you my kids don't think it's easy, especially my 18-year-old. Okay? Another thing is, Steve Miller's right. Steve Miller stood up here and said that right before the state championship game, we sat here and said to Coach Ferris, we don't care if we go to the Hall of Fame. We want to go down there and see the little kids. My 18-year-old's one of them little kids that was there. Luke, high school, Luke Osborne, he was one of them little kids there. So, Just remember that. You guys remember that, okay? There's expectations that's why we were great. I'm not a good public speaker, but what comes with this and what I'm going to read here isn't about me. It was about us, okay? That's why we were so great. It was about us. It wasn't about me or I. It was about us or we. And that's why we were so great. I really believe that. So, junior high football. Again, Coons covered it. Coach Tommy Hardy, old Coach Hardy. Talk about tough. Old Coach Hardy, tough. All right? He get in your grill. Reuben Kittle. Remember, he was running quarterback, running around the end. I was chasing him, grabbed him right by the shirt, ripped his shirt right off of him. He ripped him right down the, but he liked it. He probably still has the jersey at his house, But those are the special moments, the gassers after practice, We didn't like it. What is it? All right. We didn't like it, but they liked it. And guess what? We liked it after because it made us tough. They were disciplined. They had expectations. They had expectations up here. They weren't down here. They were up here. That made us great, right? Me and Coons hit puberty at like senior year, right? I hit puberty in 8th grade. I was this tall in 8th grade. So, it was, yeah. So, high school football, freshman year, Reuben made a great point. We played Crooksville. I mean, we got the crap beat out of us. We played a little bit of freshman year on the varsity. I think I started receiver, little bit of safety, and Coach Ferris says, "Hey, going to need you to play Saturday morning." I'm like, "All right, who are we playing?" Crooksville. All right. So we show up. They're all juniors and seniors. It's like, geez, they play last night or we playing their varsity? I'm pretty sure we played their varsity because we got pounded. I mean, we just got pounded. But we were like, damn, I thought we were good. But we were the best 8th graders going into freshman year. But when you're playing 18-year-old kids, now you're not so good anymore. So that kind of led the way as, hey, we got to hit the weights harder. We got to do this harder. So then we went into sophomore year where, we started getting better. Weights started coming on, You look at yourself, you're seeing a little bit of veins popping out. You're like, all right, I'm seeing some production. We don't know what we're doing. I guarantee you, he'll agree, and all of us will agree. We don't know what we're doing in a weight room. We're just lifting. And I think it's working. So we just keep doing it, all right? So, and that's a great thing that we have now, is these kids have people helping them the right way that makes them stronger. We didn't know what we were doing, so we just worked hard. So we went on, and sophomore year, at the end of the year, we played Sims Valley, and Coach put me at quarterback. I don't know why he took me out, because we were coming back, and he took me out, and we lost. Can't believe it. But so after sophomore year, we went to me and Coons. I'm not going to lie. This is probably where I will say me, because me and Coons really went to work sophomore to junior year. I mean, we were in the weight room all summer long, just me and him. Jake Altier came a little bit, but we really put work in. And at the end of, at the start of junior year, we started getting 4 or 5 people in there. And start of the season, we beat Nelsonville. All right. Nelsonville's supposed to beat us, right? So we go on to go 9-1 or something. I don't even know. So we go to a playoff run, and we're going to a playoff run. Well, we get to Newark Catholic. No, we're not supposed to beat Newark Catholic. Well, we should have beat Newark Catholic. Then they go on to play Marion Local and should have beat Marion Local. Well, that really opened our eyes of, hey, there's no TVC anymore. There's no 10-0 anymore. We're winning the damn state championship game. All right? There's no expectations of this TVC, I don't care. This, we're winning that. And I'll guarantee you, Coach Ferris sitting back there will tell you differently. He didn't think that was possible. I don't think he thought that was possible. But we did until he seen what we were doing. And then I bet he bought in. But we were bought in. I guarantee it. And guess what? We went from 3 or 4 people to 15 or 16 people in that weight room from junior to senior year. And we were picking kids up. And we were doing this and that with the kids. And it all started with us having the vehicles from our parents to be able to do that. So, there again, the parenting. We appreciate that. Senior year, when we went to Wahama, I mean, just if you've ever watched that game, or I've never watched a game after playing it, but I think I still feel it, because that was the hardest hitting game I've ever. I mean, if you ever heard of Kane Roush, he's one of the best running backs I've ever seen, especially in say D7, because that's kind of what they're West Virginia, but they were defending state champions and then went to the Final Four after that. But they were absolutely phenomenal football team. We went there and beat them 12-7. I still remember, you can talk to people today that was in the coal mine that worked with people from West Virginia, and they were like, I'm getting off early to come outside the coal mine to see who won that game. And they're like, I want films, I want to see that game. Like, everybody talks about that game, right? That was the best game, most people have ever seen. And I think we would agree that was awesome. So, Coach Miller said hold the rope. So senior year, one thing we did is had the National Guard come, and they explained something to us. They give us a little bit of fire under us. It was a saying called hold the rope, and we cut a piece of rope off. There's a rope in the old weight room that you work out with, so we cut it off of there, and it's still in the guys still use it right now. If you ever see the guys walking out of the weight or out of the tunnel, it's the rope, same rope. We pass it down. The backstory on that is, if your buddies are falling over a cliff, who's going to hold it? Don't matter if your hands are bleeding. It doesn't matter who's holding it. And I really believe that we get down, they'd be on the 10-yard line, we'd be screaming that at each other. And people wouldn't score because of that. I really believe that. Just a little statistic here is we had 557 points we scored senior year, and we allowed 100. We had 8 shutouts. So 8 teams, we played 15 games, and 8 teams had 0 points. And we would fight Coach Ferris if he put the second string in. He can put second offense in, but he can put second string defense in. They're not scoring. If they don't score, we don't lose. That was our saying. And we stuck by that. That didn't work for us in the state championship game. But so I'll go on here to the Mohawks. You wouldn't believe me if I sat here and told you that we give Mohawks to just about everybody. When I say everybody, I'm saying we had a class for Mohawks where me and Jacob were professionals. Where I'd sit in Shar Richards' room and give Mohawks, and I'm not lying to you when I say I was giving Mohawks to women teachers, to the scalp, straight up, to girls, women teachers, Mr. Curtis, Coach Ferris's mom got one. If that doesn't tell you enough right there, we sat right here after hours, after we had practice or feed or something. We give Reuben one. We give the Athens County Commissioner one. We went in the gymnasium and give people Mohawks. We'd give them on the street if they'd take them. I sat on the toilet the night before the state championship game, and he gave me one right in the hotel room, just to freshen it up. So that should tell you how close knit we were, and it was everybody. It wasn't one or two people. So imagine telling you had a few people do it. That's one thing, but we had everybody doing it. Another story here: Wyatt Bragg got pulled over, and you guys know how hard state highway patrolmen are. He got pulled over. We'd go over to Nelsonville and watch movies. They would give us free movies when we went to the state run. So he had like 6 people in the car, 17 years old. You're not allowed doing that. So he was just giving people rides, though. He missed a movie exit. Well, he flipped around in the grass, and the statey pulled him over. And he told him, "Where are you going?" He told the statey, he said, "Going right here to the movies. I missed my exit." He said, "We got a game tomorrow." And he said, You guys with the Mohawk Mafia?" He says, "Yeah, we actually are." He says, "Good luck tomorrow night." Let him go. I mean, that don't happen, all right? So, last few things here. Onto the state run, the bus ride's on the way there to Zanesville and back. On the way, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, the people that stood by Jules drive-thru and just beat the crap out of the bus, and the bus driver saying, "I've been in NFL games, I've did NFL games, I've did college games, I've never experienced anything like this, and I want to come back." They were shaking the bus, and there's videos on Facebook of this. And he came back the next trip, and the same thing happened, and he loved every bit of it, and so did we. So we beat Steubenville Central Catholic. That's when the bus driver, we got mobbed. So on to the state championship game. We all know that didn't go as planned, but the last thing I was going to say down here, I already went to it, but was we went to the middle school, and there's pictures of that everywhere, but that really sets home to me that the kids, again, my kids right there, they're here tonight because of little things like that. They don't just, you guys have been here to how many of these probably, and just random kids don't show up. So they care. Their parents are here. Probably never came to one in their life, right? So that's the little things that go a long way, and that's called community. So I think there's a lot of things going on right now in the community, and stepping up is one thing we need to do. So again, I want to personally thank all the coaches. Coach Babe, again, me and Coons talk about him all the time. Every time I see him, "Babe, let me tell you something. That's what he says. And his only goal was to go to the state championship game. He said, "I don't care if I die tomorrow. I went to the state championship game and I got to coach in it." Is that what he told us? He was happy as can be. And he didn't care about anything else after that. So that meant the world to us. Coach Campbell, you talk about a stellar person, and he's here, always here. Coach Ferris, he's just, you never see him mad, you never see him sad, he's just mellow, right? This guy right here, I remember him coaching me in basketball, kicking basketballs off the wall. Coach Coons here. But you know what? That toughened us up. Because he was screaming at us. And he told Jacob, he said, "Get out of here. I don't want to see you anymore." When he come back, we were in the same play. He says, "Atta baby. Same play we just ran. He just yelled at Jacob about it. And he says, "That ain't the play. We're in the same play. Yeah, atta baby. But then were the coaches that really made us everything we were. So Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Well, I think we'd all agree that it's been a good evening tonight. I think we'd also all agree that this Athletic Hall of Fame program is also a good idea. And you know, we hope to do it again 2 years from now. We hope to see all of you folks back. Some of you are here this evening just to show support for a certain person who's been inducted. But remember, we do this every 2 years. And some of you have been here almost every year, and we invite you all to come back in 2 years when we do it again. Before we cut you loose, though, we do need to thank some people. You know, since we started doing this about 20 years ago, we always had Nelsonville TV cable here to film the program and then run it on the cable. And obviously, that option is no longer available. But we would like to thank Ron Mash and Dave Norris for providing us with some video support here tonight. And this program will be available on Tales of Southeastern Ohio on YouTube and Facebook, and also DNR Studio TV LLC, and that's also available to you on YouTube. So we thank you very much for coming over this evening and videoing the program. Also, again, we thank our committee members because, you know, they have to get together and sift through the nominations and make some tough decisions about who we're going to recognize each time we have one of these programs. We thank the people who take the time to make the nominations. If we don't have nominations, we don't have any candidates to discuss and then later on to honor. We thank the people who showed up this evening to make the presentations of those candidates. We especially thank our inductees for being here and for sharing those comments with us. Again, we certainly do thank you folks for turning out every 2 years to help support this program. We don't have any kind of fundraisers or anything, but any expenses that we incur in this program is paid for by the money that we receive at this dinner. Also, I'd like to mention that our inductees will be recognized before the start of the ball game on Friday. We would like to have you to meet with committee member Dirk Walton on the right around the Trimble bench at about 6:20, and then whenever the team goes into the locker room, we'll recognize you before the ball game. Also, we would like for the new members of the Hall of Fame to remain seated at the end of the program, and we'd like those of you in the crowd who are members of the Athletic Hall of Fame to come up there to gather around them, behind, or whatever, and we'll get that group picture, which we'd like to have in the Athens Messenger. And then also, Marilyn Holbert has offered to take pictures of the families. If you would like to get together with your Hall of Fame member and gather together, she'd be willing to take pictures for you. So anything else that needs to come up for the good of the program? 2 years from now, typically committee member Dirk Walton would dismiss us with a word of prayer, but as you all know, in addition to serving as a committee member, he's trying to run a business. And he broke away from a meeting this evening to come and to bless the meal. And he's asked me if I would then take his place here to dismiss us with a word of prayer, and I'd be pleased to do that. Lord, once again, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here this evening for this celebration. We thank you for these new members. Lord, we thank you for the family and friends who've come out this evening to show their support. Now, Father, as we bring our program to a close, we just pray that you would bless us with good health, with safe travel, and bring us back together in 2 years. And Lord, this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. And please, if you're a Hall of Fame member, come up right now and let's get these pictures done, okay? Thank you.